everybody. So today I finished reading The Hunger Games, the first book in the trilogy, and boy, do I have some thoughts on this book. I really enjoyed rereading it. I haven't reread it in a really long time. My relationship with The Hunger Games goes way back to when my family had a small independent bookstore. I was looking around in some boxes of ARCs, and this book caught my eye. It didn't have this cover. Then this is the 10th anniversary edition. The cover that I found, it was the original cover, that black cover with the gray circles, except there was no Mockingjay on it. It was just the gray circles, and I thought it was like an exercise book or something. But yeah, so I found it in this box of ARCs, and it said YA, and I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. And it just kind of like sat probably in my room, in our like study office area for a while, until I finally picked it up again, and like, man, that book, it is just, oh, my heart. Okay, I just remember reading it and being like totally like sucked in. I was in 5th grade, so I had to be around 10 years old, and just, man, that book was like my life. I loved every minute while I read that book. And I remember like doing my 5th grade book report on it, and it hadn't even come out yet, and I just had a feeling that this was going to be a good book. And I still maintain that the very first book is a good book. The second, the third, we'll get into those later when I reread them. I'm doing the Hunger Along, which is a read-along reread of the Hunger Games trilogy. Book 1 is January. It's January. I read book 1. I'll talk about the others later on, but oh, rereading it was awesome. As you can tell, I have many thoughts now. I have done lots of highlighting and annotating and just kind of like trying to get my thoughts out about this book. The main character, Katniss, I'm not going to be too worried about spoiling things because I'm pretty sure most people have read the books at this point in time, or at least know what happens or have seen the movies. Katniss is 16 years old, and she does everything for her younger sister. Her mom kind of checked out after her dad died, and so she took over hunting and caring for the family until her mother could get back on her feet, and they almost starved to death. And so she learned how to hunt. Well, her father taught her how to hunt, but after he died, she took it over. She met her friend Gail. They hunt in the woods, and that's what keeps their family alive. They're from District 12, the poorest district. This is post-apocalyptic, but really smartly done post-apocalyptic. It doesn't feel cheesy. It feels really well thought out. And I've always maintained, if you've seen any of my other like reviews of the Hunger Games or anywhere else where I talk about the Hunger Games, I've always maintained that I think it was a smart idea for a book series, and that I think Susan Collins had plans for it that just kind of got away from her. Like my main problem with this next 2 books following this one is that they just felt rushed. The second one was pretty good, but the third one, like, it felt like I was reading a first draft or even a second draft, and I think she knew where she wanted it to go, and I found more evidence of that just with some of the characters that pop in, some of the mentions of it that I didn't notice the first time I read it or when I read the second one. And so that's just kind of what I maintained, is that it just felt rushed, that I don't know if she didn't have enough time to finish them, if she wasn't confident enough to ask for more time to finish them. I don't, after reading the caliber that this first book is, and I just can't think that the quality of that third book was what Susan Collins had wanted or anticipated. But I could be wrong. I can't speak for her. I don't know her. I've never met her, and I just have no idea what was going on through her brain. But for me, my biggest thing with this book is just her relationship with her younger sister Prim. She would do, and this is very clear from the beginning, anything for Prim, and it's shown over and over and over again, when she's even confusing root for Prim in the arena, when she comes very connected to this younger girl and very protective of her, so that when she dies, you know, Katniss is like, I gotta win for her. And the only time that I see Katniss slip from this is at the very end with Peeta, because she can't do it. She can't kill Peeta for her sister or even for Rue. She just can't bear it. And it's always kind of bugged me, that scene. I'm still trying to figure it out, but it's always bugged me because, you know, she would do anything for her sister. Anything. And but she can't bring herself to kill Peeta. And they end up being able to go home together, as everyone knows at this point. And so I think she really does fall for Peeta, and well, obviously she does, we all know that now. But she falls for Peeta in such a way that she doesn't even know how to deal with it herself. She finds herself actually really caring for him in the arena, even though she's trying to fake it. She actually ends up having genuine feelings for the boy with the bread, the boy that she can't stop owing, that she can't stop noticing. And she notices, the more she thinks about Peeta, the more that she remembers about Peeta, the boy with the bread, the boy who helped her, who kept her family from starvation. So I did give this 5 out of 5 stars. I know I tend to only do book reviews about books that I've done 5 out of 5 stars for, and I don't know why. I've been trying to do more, but again, I kind of fell off the bandwagon last semester. But I was trying to figure out her thought process throughout this book, because Katniss is smart. Like, she is very, very smart, whether she thinks it or not. And so her choices, I tried to dissect, I tried to figure out what she was thinking when she made certain choices, and it was so hard for me, because, like, she couldn't kill, like, Prim wasn't even on her mind during that last part where they said that they were the last two standing and that only one could win, and she just couldn't bring herself to kill Peeta, and she said that even if she did win, if she was the one to kill Peeta, it would just be so much worse than dying right there. And that I think is the first real clue that we get that she really, truly has fallen for Peeta, and it's not a game for her anymore. And she gets confused with her feelings and stuff at the end, because she's like, after they survived, she doesn't know whether she actually truly likes him or not, which I think is ridiculous, because obviously she does. But, you know, she's this starving girl who the only thing she's ever had to focus on before is providing food for her family, so she's never had time to, like, look at herself with, like, feelings, whether she's liked a boy or not. None of that stuff has ever mattered to her before, or she's never even had the time to think about it mattering. And she's very adamant about the fact that she never wants to have kids. She doesn't want to bring them into that world. And then the movies. When they make books into movies, you always know something's going to happen. So I was so excited when I heard they were going to make this book into a movie. And I remember, like, fantasizing about being Katniss and knowing that would never happen. I was too young at the time. I was probably 13 at the time. And at first I wanted to like Jennifer Lawrence. I really, really did, but she never, like, even as I'm reading this book now, I don't envision her as Katniss. I know that a book-to-movie adaptation has been done well if while I'm reading the book, I can see and hear the actor or actress in my head as the character. And that only happens, I think, if they've done it really well. I can't force it. Some examples for this book, Haymitch, I think they casted Haymitch perfectly. Effie, I think they casted Effie perfectly. Cinna, Peeta, I thought those characters were done perfectly. Gale and Katniss, I could not actually see as Gale and Katniss. And I don't know if it's because Katniss was a little older. Jennifer Lawrence was older when she played Katniss, and I really wanted to see someone who looked like, you know, a 15, 16-year-old girl who's been chosen to fight to the death. And she didn't look like that. She looked like an adult, and that kind of bugged me. And even then I could get past that if, you know, the acting was where it needed to be for that. And she's a wonderful, wonderful actress, and I think she's very good at what she does, but she didn't sell me as Katniss. Like, even that moment when she, like, pushes forward for Prim, I didn't feel the desperation, and I don't know where the disjoint comes from, but I wanted more, and it felt like a very flat performance of Katniss. And yeah, Katniss is not a very emotional person, but she definitely cares about people, and she'd do anything for them, and that's something that's a very strong part of her character, and all we get is kind of this, like, flat performance from someone who's too old to really be Katniss, and too old, kind of, that bugged me a lot of it, actually. Like, that just really irked me, because, I don't know, I just think they could have done a better casting job. And yeah, Jennifer Lawrence wasn't that well known at the time, and it's like they did kind of go for an underdog actor, and I just did not agree with it. I think they could have found someone better. I think it actually would have been better if they just picked a nobody, like someone who's never been acting before, an open casting call type thing, because I think that would have been perfect. Because Katniss was a nobody. She was a starving nobody from the poorest district who won the Hunger Games with someone else just to show the Capitol they couldn't own her. And I think that's a very telling thing. So those are my thoughts on the first book and the first movie of the Hunger Games. What did you guys think of the Hunger Games? Are you doing the Hunger along? Who's your favorite character? Did you agree with the casting of Jennifer Lawrence as Katniss? Because, I don't know, she just never really felt like Katniss to me, and that was kind of a problem for me watching the movies. So, yeah. Yay!